we did the Marraines Black Bottom movie soundtrack in the studio. Ralph Marsalis did his movie score. Netflix came down, and it was crazy. There's a producer named George. I'll never forget his name. Very demanding. Very demanding. And the guy that was engineering for them got fired on the spot because he wasn't fast enough for George. And George fired him up and flew him back to New York. Okay. And I was standing right here in this corner along with Ralph Marsalis engineer. You know, and we hit each other. Say, bro, you want that chair? I said, no, bro, not me.
The hot seat.
Yeah, it was a hot seat that day.
Hello, hello, hello. We are here back at the booth talk at NAMM 2025 with a real rock star, educator, engineer.
Rockstar.
Rockstar.
Yeah.
Why rockstar? Because you rock, man. You make things happen.
Amen.
You join your community. You love your community. You make kids love audio. You are a rockstar.
You're a shining example in the community.
Well, I tried to expose them to what's coming down the pipeline and try to explain to them the importance of learning these skill sets. Because in the very end, it's about economics. How you're going to survive, and what kind of skills do you need to survive? Because technology is changing, and technology is really controlling us all. So I tell all the teachers, if you're in the classroom and you don't have technology, you might as well retire. Because these kids come up with technology. And the thing about it is very simple. You got a choice to make, all right? Very simple. Either you're going to be the Flintstones or the Jetsons.
Wow.
That's your opportunity, the Flintstones or the Jetsons. That's what we are right now. So Elroy is flying around. Bam Bam is still hitting stuff with a piece of wood.
Yeah.
So, and that's what education is. Either you're going to be the Flintstones or the Jetsons in education. And you have to use the technology because these kids are growing up with technology.
What a way of intro, Dr. Daryl Dickerson, director of the Ellis Marsalis Center for Music. And Daryl, what a statement. Thank you very much for being with us today.
I am so honored to be here, and it was strange because I got a call from a friend of mine who said, "Oh man, I'm interviewing you." I said, "You are?"
Surprise!
Yeah. So I'm happy to be here.
And 5 minutes later, here we are.
Yeah. This is the honor for me to be with you all because you all are the best in the industry, and I would say that any day, every day, because I've seen firsthand what you all do. And the project you did at my facility, soon people open the door, all they can say is, wow. That's all they can say. So I thank you all for that.
No, thank you. And talking about the facility, this is the EMCM, and which has a very interesting story that started with a sad story, correct? How this started?
Well, this facility was the brainchild of Branford Marsalis, Harry Connick, and Anne-Marie Wilkins. After Katrina, they wanted to put something and do something in the community to bring music back because New Orleans was
devastated.
Dead. We was dead, And I was in New York for the Jazz Master ceremony when it was honoring the Marsalis family. And they told me about the project. And when they said they were going to put it in the lower ninth ward, in New Orleans, and I grew up in New Orleans, I said, "You're going to put it where? In the ninth ward." So.
Have you ever been there?
Yeah, right. Do y'all know what y'all doing? The ninth ward.
Yeah.
But they wanted to put this facility where they could make the most impact to help youth, the underserved youth in the city. And if you know anything about the city, the ninth ward is always like the forgotten area of New Orleans. You only hear about the ninth ward when it floods.
Yeah.
That's when you hear about the ninth ward. But otherwise...
Or police reports.
Or the police reports, right. Yeah. So they wanted to put this facility in the ninth ward so that they can give those youth, and trust me, the ninth ward has just as much talent sitting there than any other part of the city. You know, because Ninth Ward is the biggest landmass in New Orleans. You know, so there's talent galore. So when they said they were putting in the Ninth Ward, I said, okay, I'm in, I guess. You know, but it went well. I mean, it's a beautiful facility. Harry Connick and Bradford Marsalis, they named it after Bradford's daddy, Ellis Marsalis,
Gotcha.
who was a great educator. You know, a lot of folks know him as Jazz, but Ellis was an educator first, and he'll tell you that. And a great man. We lost him during the COVID situation, but Ellis Marsalis was also one of the main people that helped start a school called NOCA, New Orleans Center for Creative Arts, because they wanted to do something for those kids who had a higher aptitude in music, and they started that. He was one of the founding people in that situation. But Ellis was this very humble guy. You could walk up to him, no bodyguards, none of that kind of stuff, you know, and he'd talk to any and everybody.
It's really accessible.
Yes. And when the center was built, he would always come by and talk to the kids and show them stuff on the piano, and I'll sit down with him and me and him would talk, given that I'm director of education, or what direction we want to go in, what are we trying to do, you know. So it was very, very humble for me to have the opportunity to work on side of Mr. Marsalis.
Fantastic. And talking about this center, what do we have inside? What's going on inside? We have some pictures here to illustrate. So
The picture that you're seeing now is our performance hall, which is a great facility. We also use this for recording. You know, whenever I'm doing a recording session, I would basically, that's the studio that was built by you all. I love it. You know, but we have the opportunity. The beauty of our facility is that, as the audio engineer, I have the opportunity to record big groups.
Yeah.
You know, so it reminds me of the old days when the major labels had these big rooms. And the first recording I did in this room, I had the Louisiana Philharmonic Orchestra on the floor, and the conductor was up here, and they were scoring a film session for a sci-fi movie, which went off very well. You know, so it's a very flexible room. We use it for our students perform on that stage every semester. I have a tendency of saying you have to earn your way to the stage. So if you don't practice and you don't know your music, you don't get to that stage. You know, I don't care what Grandma and Pawpaw want, you're not getting on that stage.
Merit first.
We also rent this facility out for folks that want to, you know, it's a community center, so we rent it out. One lady had a retirement party up in here, and, you know, so it's a great room.
The real multi-purpose, multifunction space with a professional world-class recording studio attached, control room attached.
It is. And we basically, you know, we did the Marraines Black Bottom movie soundtrack in the studio. Bradford Marsalis did his movie score. Netflix came down and everybody it was crazy. There's a producer named George, I'll never forget his name. Very demanding. Very demanding. And it's
easier to deal with kids.
It is. It is. You know, the guy that was engineering for them got fired on the spot because he wasn't fast enough for George. So when George called up a scene, because when you're recording for a movie, it's not like a record. The record is linear, so you gotta pull up your scenes quick. And this guy wasn't fast enough, and George fired him up and flew him back to New York. Okay. And I was standing right here in this corner, along with Bradford Marsalis engineer, you know, and now we hit each other. Say, bro, you want that chair? I said, no, bro, not me.
The hot seat.
Yeah, it was a hot seat that day. Yeah, but it's a great facility. Now, also about this room is this is a classroom. Every room in that facility I use as a classroom. And kids get to learn. We have a program now on Saturdays for those 10th, 11th, and 12th grade students that want to learn audio engineering. You know, we teach them the fundamentals. You know, the patch bay is right here. You have to understand the patch bay.
Signal flow from A to C. From A to C.
We have a digital splitter that's on the outside of this room that comes into this room. You know, so they learn how to manipulate this room. Because my goal is, when you leave me, I don't want you to be intimidated when you go to the next studio.
Right, that's why we chose the console we did, analog, digital hybrid.
Yes.
Right, big format speakers.
Big format.
Surround monitoring.
Yes.
It's a small footprint, but it's got all the toys.
If it has everything you need to do, everything. If you can't do it up in here, you don't know what you're doing. Honestly, you know. So
yeah.
I just sit back and watch people, you know, because I don't engineer every session, but I'm like, you have everything you need here. So, but the students get a hands-on every week to come up in here, and what we also do, we go to the stage, we'll set up drums, we'll set up acoustic bass, we'll mic piano, you know. Then I'll make sure that they know how to get the signal flow back to the studio, then how to set up their session. Then they also have to learn how to set up the headphone mix for the band members. So everything is hands-on
all the process,
education.
the entire process.
Yes.
Start to finish.
In terms of the vision, the initial vision of putting this in the middle of this neighborhood that was affected by Katrina, impacting the community, mission accomplished. Can you say that that mission was accomplished?
That mission was accomplished, but we're not finished.
Got you.
Okay, I'm not finished. I'm not finished because there's a part two. Because if you look at this picture, there's a room right here.
Yeah.
In this room right here, we are working on fundraising to get the equipment for the video side, because
Gotcha.
we want to do video as well as audio.
Video streaming and
video streaming, live concert. Because we already do concerts, so we want to be able to stream our concerts out to the public. You know, because there's so much talent in New Orleans. It's just amazing.
that will expand the reach.
Yeah.
Of
So we
what
want
you're
people
doing.
to see this talent, you know, and also it gives the artists in New Orleans an opportunity to create a product, because today you have to have a press kit, right? Digital press kit. So I want to be that nucleus for the city where musicians come, they can record something audio and video wise, okay?
Correct.
Then they have a product they can go out there and send to the public, okay, this is what I can do. Hopefully that leads to economic impact on their lives.
So you heard, we are in the middle of a fundraising campaign. If you want to
Yes.
collaborate with the EMCM, click here.
Everybody that want to come, let's go. Let's go. Take this
Yeah.
ride with me.
Doors are open.
Yes.
Now, Daryl, you have a really interesting and cool role in the community and the industry, specific to New Orleans and the music industry. You're a doctor. Can you talk to us a little bit about how you got where you are? If somebody's trying to maybe vaguely follow in your footsteps, like how'd you come up?
Oh man. All this was by myself.
We have another 30 minutes.
I never set out. First of all, I never set out to get a doctorate degree. That was never, ever a dream.
And yet here you are.
Yeah. I'm a lost person. No. My mom always asked us when we was kids. When we was kids, we used to live in a housing project, and luckily my dad was wise enough. When I was about 5 or 6, he moved us out the project and bought a house. You know, my mom always asked us, we have 6 of us at that time, give me at least 2 years of college. Okay. I followed in my brother's footsteps by playing music. So I started playing music in the 6th grade. And
Drums, guitar?
well, I started off on drums,
Okay.
but I wasn't as good as Reginald Smith. And the teacher
Okay.
told me, well, Reginald will outplay you. I said, well, give me another instrument. so I switched to saxophone.
Okay.
All right. So I played saxophone in junior high school, but then I switched to sousaphone because we needed a sousaphone in the band. And I used the sousaphone to take me through college. That got me a scholarship to college.
Wow.
Yeah, so
And which college was that?
I went to Southern University in Baton Rouge.
Yeah.
I went to Southern University in Baton
Full
Rouge.
circle.
You know, and you know, majored in music. I did major in music, became a certified teacher in the state of Louisiana, so I'm still certified. So I can teach music wherever I want to teach music. You know, but my quest was, well, in college, we thought we were going to be the next Earth, Wind and Fire band, all right? Because there was a lot of guys from New Orleans, everybody was playing instruments. Oh man, we're going to be the next great band. You know, on graduation day, I looked around like, where's everybody at? You know, so, you know, I realized you cannot base your dreams on other people. That's what I learned from that. But
Interesting lesson.
yeah, educational wise. So I started teaching. I started teaching in middle school. I was at the middle school for 14 years. I enjoyed the middle school kids because they have that curiosity factor about them and they want to learn. So they tried to get me to go to senior high school. I refused to go to senior high because the middle school kids are where I wanted to be, and I enjoyed that all the years there. but I almost left teaching. And this is interesting. I was in a teacher's lounge one day. I'm a neophyte, new teacher, don't know, and I'm sitting there and I'm listening to these two teachers in the back of the lounge just complaining about students. Just I'm like, wow, is that gonna be me? So I was getting ready to go to the University of New Orleans in a Master's of Education. I withdrew. I'm like, I don't want to be caught like that, 'cause I felt like they was trapped. So I went and got an MBA. I went to business school. So I decided, okay, I'm gonna go to business school. I'm gonna go to business school and I'm gonna make all this money, and I'm gonna go to Wall Street, just make all this money and become rich and that didn't happen.
You're almost going to the dark side.
Yeah, that didn't happen. But I almost got out of education, which, it came to me really kind of late after Katrina, that education is where my God wanted me to be. All right, because I have fun. I never had the problems other teachers had. Because education to me is like, let's have a conversation. Let's talk about what you're doing. And this is what you need to do this, this is what you need to do
and
that.
Everybody's a different person.
Everybody's different. That's why I never tell kids that. I told some college kids one time, they got mad at me, that don't spin your wheels at this university and come out with nothing. 10 miles down the highway, there's a trade school. Go get a trade, go make some money. You can always come back here, but don't spend 4 years here, because I could tell that they really wasn't committed to their studies. So I try to tell folks that, I'm nothing special. I paid the dues to study.
You worked hard.
Well, when everybody was going to the beach on Sundays and stuff, I would go to the library and sit in that cubicle and study finance or statistics or whatever it was, But it's just that my mom always told us have a plan A and a plan B. So I always made sure I had a plan A, B, and C coming through this thing, because you never know what's going to happen. And COVID was a perfect example, because as great as guys in New Orleans and ladies in New Orleans that could play, they were sitting at home with no income. They couldn't travel.
No plan B.
Yeah.
Right, no audience.
No, right. And that right there, when I see them, I say, man, what's your plan B? You got to have a plan B. As great as you are, and I'll say it, Bradford. As great as he is, he makes his money on the road. They couldn't go nowhere. So I try to tell my students, look, have a plan B. And I'm not an education guy, because right now I'm in school again. As crazy as that sound, I know.
No, not crazy.
That's crazy. That is crazy.
Lifelong learner.
Yeah, well, life throws a lot of stuff at you. So I'm studying at Berkeley right now. And that wasn't. It was out of curiosity on how they teach.
Okay.
I'm like, well, how
just to experiment?
So I took a class. Process. I took a class with Mr. Prince Charles on vocalist, and I'm like, okay, I see that. Then I took another class. I said, okay, and
you like it. You start liking it.
Well, last December I looked up and I realized I was only 3 classes away from the master's. I'm like, well, I might as well get the master's.
Oops, I got a master's.
Yeah, but it's fun.
So curiosity is a key.
Curiosity is everything. Never lose curiosity. Because you always like, I wonder what that's about. And I'm the kind of guy that's gonna look behind the curtain.
Well, that curiosity is going to keep you from being those teachers in the back of the room saying, I hate these students.
Yeah, well, if you, when I was in middle school teaching, because they was always complaining, because I was the band teacher. I'm like, Miss Dixon, this student, that student, this student, that student. I'm like, look, it's very simple. The problem with some of you all is at 3 o'clock, y'all beating the students out of the parking lot. You got to spend time to get to know the students. And 6:30 in the morning, we had band practice. 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock, we had band practice. Saturday, 8 o'clock to 12 o'clock, we had band practice. So I knew the students and I knew the parents. And when you're that involved with a kid that much, the parent gets involved, and you don't have the problem.
That's investing.
Yeah, well, you got to invest if you want to be successful in education. So that's basically how I did education. That's still how I'm doing it. Whenever I have an event at the center, any student of mine, I say, I have this event. If you want to come out, this is the day I'm setting up. This is what we're going to do. I create those opportunities for them so they can get some hands-on experience.
Well, investing is tricky though, right? Because sometimes you win, but sometimes you lose, right? Sometimes what you put in.
That's the nature of the beast.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you gotta be able to deal with that loss, that risk.
Well, and you do, but when you're dealing with young minds, it's a easier situation because you can convince them, hey, come back. Because sometimes you lose a student. Come back. Why'd you stop? Come on back. Let's see what's going on. And a lot of you have to realize that it's not the student, it's the environment at home that we're dealing with. So when we deal with that, and we tell mom or auntie, okay, I'll pick him up, I'll make sure he gets home, I'll make sure he eats.
That's big.
Well,
that's massive.
If you're gonna work in this field, and and be true to it, it's not about you running up and there doing your job and running home, because you're dealing with a human being, and that's what we deal with.
Yeah, it's messy sometimes.
Yeah.
It is.
Mr. Daryl, an honor, a pleasure. God bless you. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you all for having me. I'm so excited to be here with you all. I really am. So
now you're the master.
No, I'm just moping along, trying to make it work.
So, care, social compromise, curiosity.
Investment.
Dr. Daryl, thank you.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Doctor.
Thanks.